So let's say you're in the market for a new dive watch and you want something that is a little bit out of the ordinary from a brand that's a little bit out of the ordinary. Maybe you want something that's German made. You don't want to buy a Submariner or a Seamaster. You want something just different. Well, today we're going to take a look at the SeaQ, which is a German-made dive watch from Glashütte Original. And I have to say, this is a really nicely made dive watch that's a little bit different from the run-of-the-mill Seamasters and Submariners. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the SeaQ from Glashütte Original. So I haven't featured very many German brands here on my channel, but here is the SeaQ from Glashütte Original, and this is a really nice dive watch. Now, they've had this watch out for a few years. It's a reissue of a watch that was from 1969 or 1970s. You obviously have sort of a 70s inspired case, and you have a 70s inspired dial as well. You have sort of a fence post hand, and then you have an arrow minute hand, and then you have just a lollipop second hand there. Very legible. So the point of this watch is that it's a very functional dive watch. It's very legible. You have large indices that are filled with lume. You have a date there at the 3 o'clock. It's powered by their caliber 3911, which I think only has 40 hours of power reserve, but of course is an in-house movement. Now, this watch was lent into the channel by exquisitetimepieces.com. They have a ton of watches on their website. They are an authorized dealer for not only this brand, but many others. So I will put a link down in the description below. If you'd like to buy this watch or any watch, check out their website. And of course, they have a brick and mortar store down in Naples, Florida as well. Tell them Watch Chris sent you. Anyway, so very vintage inspired, and you definitely can see that with not only the case, but the sapphire crystal that they decided to put on here. It's a domed boxed sapphire crystal, which looks very vintage and gives it a really nice feel. You also get a ceramic bezel. So this is obviously a modern watch. The ceramic bezel that's in this watch is in a green color. The dial is in a green color, and also that strap is in a green color. It's a very dark green. So it almost looks black in certain lights. In certain lights, it looks like a green, but not a very light green. You get the ceramic bezel, as I mentioned. That ceramic bezel is engraved. I don't know if that is loomed. We will do a loom shot at the end, but I have to say the bezel action on this watch is excellent. Really, all the action on this watch, the crown action, the bezel action, even the clasp, very, very tight tolerances. Everything feels really buttery and beautiful. So let's listen to the bezel action. So obviously everything lines up. The clicks are very precise, very pronounced, and the bezel is a little bit hard to turn, but I wouldn't say that it's difficult to turn. So it's a little bit tight, but not difficult to turn at all. The crown, again, when you unscrew the crown, it's very, very buttery smooth, very grippy as well, just like the bezel. It pops out, very satisfying pop out, and then of course, very smooth when you pull it out into the first position and into the second position to adjust the time. Everything is really smooth and very nicely executed. Pop it back in and it screws right in on your first try. Really nice. The buckle, again, you can see here, it's a very bespoke buckle. Unclick it and everything just feels really nice. You have these beautiful buttons that are integrated into the buckle. Snap it closed. It just feels a little bit nicer than maybe what you get from the equivalent Omega. Now I have an Omega on my wrist. I will show you what I'm talking about, but I mean, it's almost on par, maybe slightly better, especially when it gets to the bezel action. I think the bezel action is really good on here. Case back is just a wave pattern with a trident. Their logo just says the brand name and then the made in Germany moniker there. 20 bar. This is a 200 meter water resistant dive watch. Really nice. I'm going to do quick measurements. I think this is around 39 millimeters is what they claim, and I think it is around that. So it's 39 spot on right there. Not an incredibly thick watch at 11.9 millimeters. I do wish that they put an open case back so you could see the caliber 3911. It has 40 hours of power reserve. It has 4 hertz, so It's a nice movement. It's not the best movement to look at, but it's still a really nice movement. And I think it would be nice to have a display case back. Even though it's 200 meters of water resistance, they can do that. At this price point, I think it warrants it. 47 millimeters lug to lug, and then the crown 5.9 millimeters. Deeply engraved crown, and the case back is also very deeply engraved, and I'll do close-ups of both of those. Logo here as well, very, very deeply engraved on this buckle. The buckle is very impressive. You have brushing and polishing. There's polished edges all the way around. I mean, it's an impressive buckle. They did a great job on this buckle. It is, like I said, a little bit nicer than what you get from something like Omega, who are in the same family as this brand. Very quickly, I'm going to throw it on my wrist. I also have my Omega on today, and we'll take a look at this a little bit side by side. And then we will do a loom shot. I'll talk about price. I'll talk about price now. The price is $9,000 on this, so I think it's like $9,300. They make a version that is a little bit less colorful. It's more vintage looking. The loom is vintage colored. I think that's like $8,900 or something like that. So you're in that $9,000 range for this watch. And obviously what they're going for here is an alternative to brands like Omega and Rolex. So today I have my Omega on, and you can see the buckle on here is really, really nice. And it's probably one of the best, parts of this watch, but I would say that this is a little bit nicer. I mean, even though it's a butterfly clasp, I would imagine their bracelet has a really great buckle on it. It's a little bit nicer. I think it's a little bit nicer in my opinion. But overall, even the bezel action on here, they released a watch with, not so great bezel action. It's a little bit, not great. But that's really me. But these are very similarly spec'd watches as well. This is 300 meters of water resistance with a solid case back. And this is obviously 200 meters. It's a little bit thinner as well, the 200 meter dive watch, but there you go. So this is sized for my 7.5 inch wrist. This is a 39 millimeter watch. I think they claim it's 39.5, but I've measured it a few times at 39 millimeters, and here it is. I think it looks great. It wears very close to the wrist, so it looks very thin. Really a great alternative to brands like Omega and Rolex. If you're looking for something that is a very straightforward, vintage-inspired dive watch, this looks good. This is probably better competition to this watch in the non-limited edition version, the standard version from their Heritage line, the 300. That does get a display case back, ceramic bezel, and it's around the same price point. It's actually a little bit cheaper than the SeaQ. My Omega, the 57 that we were just looking at, was a little bit cheaper than this watch when it originally sold. I think it was around $7,500. So, I mean, obviously they're all in the same family, and competition is, I guess, friendly between the three brands or two brands that we're talking about here. But anyway, just something to note. So very quickly, a loom shot. Well, there you go. The loom is actually impressive. Very liberally applied to the hands and indices. Lollipop has loom. You have a little triangle in the bezel for orientation. Excellent loom on here. I was actually surprised. I wasn't expecting much because it is the Swatch Group, and usually they let me down with loom, but here they did not. I think this is a really good alternative to the Seamaster and the Submariner. If you want something that is a little bit different, maybe something that is German, but you want the same quality, the SeaQ is a really good option. Also, I would say that the buckle is a little bit nicer than what you get from those other two brands, including Rolex. This is pretty impressive. And I'm not sure about their bracelet because I don't have one of their bracelets in for review, but I would imagine if they put that much detail into the buckle of a strap, they probably do a pretty good job with the bracelet as well. Really good looking watch, and I highly recommend it if you are interested in something that isn't very mainstream. You won't see other people wearing this out on the street. And also the finishing on the case and everything is sort of up to par, up to standard with Rolex and Omega. You have really nice chamfered edges, and the case in general is finished as well as the buckle is. It's just pretty great. I know I focused in on that buckle a lot because I was actually very impressed by it. Anyway, tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Please also don't forget to check out exquisitetimepieces.com if you are interested in this watch or any watch really. Check out their website. They have tons of watches there and they have some great prices. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to help support my channel and I very much appreciate it. Anyway guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you in the next video.